Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu for this Saturday, we have SoulStar, the classic shoot 'em up for the Sega CD. What kind of taste does this classic have? Let's get cooking and find out. As we start SoulStar, we go and get this mission briefing that precedes each stage we go and play. Just a little bit overview of what we're actually doing throughout the course of the stage. It's really helpful in going and framing both our actions and what we're actually doing. The story of SoulStar itself is interesting. You play this cryo commando who's been hunting the Mercoids, this planet system destroying race, for centuries, and you finally track them down to this system, SoulStar. So of course, our goal, eliminate the Mercoids for good. So as we actually get into the game itself, we get this awesome looking rail shooter stage, set with a beautiful space backdrop. So though it looks this way, SoulStar isn't entirely a rail shooter. It actually shakes things up in a couple different ways. And each stage is basically broken up in a similar fashion. We go and have our rail shooter sections, and we also have sections of the game that are, to go and borrow a phrase from Star Fox, all-range mode, where we can go and move in essentially a 360-degree plane, exploring the realm around us. It definitely makes for a great variety in the gameplay itself, but it also brings to light some of the game's more glaring issues. And the biggest one, difficulty. So, real quick going and discussing some of the Hud elements. On your left and right, you can see bars at the top of the screen. Those indicate my shield strength, and so far, I'm not doing so hot. But similar to, since I was using it as an example, Star Fox, your power-ups and your shield restores are rings you go and collect. Now, throughout the course of even the rail shooter sections, we have screen transitions like this, where we go from outer space to planet side, in this case, and there are some other fun transitions that the game goes and presents us. Now, throughout the course of this game, you're collecting several power-ups. Some are for your main weapon, which the default one that we started out with is the pulse shot, plasma shot, which really isn't that good, so being able to upgrade is very desirable. Right now, I'm going and using the more powerful ring cannon, but even this can be eclipsed by better weapons. So in this section, we actually have the opportunity to pick up some good life from those enemies that are flying forward. And let me just go and say, I love the way that this stage goes and looks. Having enemy fighters trying to launch as we're flying around isn't something I feel we see enough of in shoot 'em ups. Just a bit of attention to detail that helps frame the conflict. Is it something that we really need to go and see? Well, admittedly not, but like I was just saying, I feel like it's just one of those little pieces of attention to detail that can really go and make a title. Another thing that SoulStar is really known for is its excellent orchestral soundtrack. After our little planet-side assault, we're back in space, approaching the warp ship that's our destination for the first stage. So in addition to our main weapon, we do actually have several secondary weapons we can make use of as well. At the moment, I have bombs, missiles, an awesome torpedo, a ram, which goes and basically summons some options to help you fire some additional... will have some additional firepower for a short period of time. Those particular weapons, since they're all limited, we do want to go and hold on to them. As we approach the warp ship, these mercoids that are attacking us definitely will have a little bit more of a biological look to them. They're not nearly as mechanical. And throughout the course of the game, we'll go and see different enemies and designs along those lines. But one problem I do have with rail shooters is sometimes it's hard to make out the design of the enemies that are approaching that we're going and seeing. So right there, we went and saw a quick transition of our ship from the strike craft mode, which is what we were flying in, to the turbocopter. And we find ourselves inside the warp ship. Goal, the CPU core. So here, the controls go and change up. And that goes and presents a little bit of a challenge to get used to the different perspectives and changes in the way that the game goes and works. But fortunately, even though getting used to the controls and navigating can be a challenge, the game is good about indicating where your objectives are. In the top of the screen there, we have a tactical map that's always pointing us... well, not always pointing us, but the top of the tactical map indicates where our objective is. If we have to move to the left, if we have to move to the right, it lets us know. So our boss here is actually the CPU core of the warp ship. I would have liked to have seen how we got this far into the ship, but sadly that wasn't presented. Once we defeat the warp core, the warp ship itself is now going to self-destruct. So before that happens, we need to activate these warp cores by moving the warp gates into position, while under heavy fire, I might add. Come on, just a little bit more. And with that accomplished, we position ourselves for warp. Now, one interesting thing to note is that's actually where we should select the difficulty for the game itself. Depending on which of the 3 warp gates you take, you end up on easy, medium, or hard difficulty. For the sake of demonstration, I took it on easy. And also, another problem that... well, I guess it depends. It's not necessarily a problem if that's what you're looking for, but a potential issue with SoulStar is it is a very difficult title. And here we have my favorite of the main weapons, the laser. Straight fire, heavy damage. What more could you ask for? So at the beginning of the stage, I did inadvertently use a couple power-ups. I wasted my torpedoes, which is a heavy screen-clearing style bomb. And I also activated the Ram, our buddies that I was going and telling you about, that come in and help you deal with the enemy forces. So this stage, we're flying through space, approaching a Mercoid production facility, and then we also have to destroy their energy extraction from the planet itself. But to get there, we have to fly through this nasty asteroid field first. And then through their production base. All the while taking far, far more damage than is good for our health. Now that we're through there, we continue on our journey towards the planet itself, ready to go down in flames. Right before we got there, with a little bit of shield strength, we should have an easier time of getting there. We start out once again at the beginning of the stage with our pulse cannon. But with any luck, we'll make it through this time. And once again, I do want to point out that we're flying in a beautiful pixel star field. The look of the ship in front of us, as well as the asteroid field itself, is beautifully drawn in gorgeous pixel art. And even if we can't go and dodge the enemy attacks that well, we can at least go and appreciate the beautiful view before we go down in flames. With any luck, I'll be able to successfully show you the third form of the aggressor here. As it does make for a different style of game to have it present. It's unfortunate they don't give us more options for health. That is one of the things that makes the title difficult, is the availability of such. Still, we do have some shield and shield energy available to us, and just a little bit more to help things out. Still, only having a few doors in our way, I don't really feel like the Mercoids are going and taking us seriously. Destination reached. Now we have to get through this rather better defended tunnel. And we'll even be greeted by a boss at the end of it. To make short work of this boss, I'm going to go and use my torpedo. And as always happens, if you continue to hold down the button after the torpedo, you'll usually get your ram. With that boss quickly defeated, we now go and see the third form of the aggressor, the Combat Walker. And we now find ourselves in the underground mine. So our objective here is to go and find the 25 chains that are driving the extractor. At least that would be the way I would go and view it. Destroy them and escape. So the map will go and direct you to the nearest section of extractors, as they're usually grouped in anywhere from 3 to 6 chains total to go and destroy. It's really fortunate that we have the laser to use here, as that'll make much shorter work of the extractor chains. One downside, though, to using the Combat Walker is when you're not boosting around, it's slow. And it also uses a auto lock on, so it can be difficult to aim for the target that you want to. We still have 18 more of these chains to take out, but fortunately they do drop health power-ups, usually 1 per set. So if we can go and just avoid enemy fire long enough, we should be able to do this. We can use some of our secondary weapons as well. Mayhaps not this one. Boosting around is definitely advisable, as it keeps you away from enemies and enemy shots. Yeah, the missiles just don't seem like they're getting the job done fast enough here. So come on, guys. Alright, we're down to just 8 chains to go. Getting stuck on rocks. Not what we want to be doing. Come on, where are they? Yay, we found them! Clearing out the enemies would be helpful for a time, but as they infinitely spawn, there's only so much we can do to keep ourselves from taking too much damage here. Alright, we should have one more set of 4, and that should be all we need to destroy the extractor. I shouldn't have picked that up. The ring cannon isn't really what we need here. Alright, just 3 more chains to go. Two. One. Success! Now we need to escape. There's a teleporting pad in the middle of the stage. Mission accomplished. Or is it? It'd be nice if it was that easy. But it's not quite. We still have a walker boss in this tunnel that's got our name written all over him. So this is definitely one of those scenarios where you want to use everything in your arsenal to deal as much damage as possible. So we did go and pick up a Star Crusher. Let's see if that can go and deal much damage to him. As it's a charge weapon, it's not getting us the results we're looking for. His rocks he's kicking up are a little bit too formidable. So it's not really clearly indicated, but I believe his weak point is actually towards the bottom half of the enemy himself. And as we destroy his outer armor, we see his true form. But before we can take it out, well, unfortunately we're destroyed. One more attempt. Since we do have our torpedo available again, we'll use that at the start of the fight to deal some heavy damage and pave our way towards an easier victory. We'll also bring in our ram friends to make short work of our boss. Already to the second form of the battle. And after several lives, we're able to successfully defeat Stage 2. Now there are actually a total of 8 stages throughout SoulStar. Depending on which difficulty you pick, past the first and the last stages, the stage order is not going to be fixed. You'll face different stages at different times depending on the difficulty you take. So that's definitely one of the pluses of SoulStar, is the variable difficulty and the variable pathing depending on the difficulty you pick. Also, as mentioned, the soundtrack to this game is just incredible. The backgrounds, in particular, as far as the graphics are concerned, are also beautifully rendered, time and time again. And the different styles of gameplay give you a fair bit of variety to what you're playing. But as I noted earlier, the difficulty is extremely high, so that's definitely a minus. And you're also always swapping control schemes. Especially the turbocopter takes a little bit of getting used to controlling your height on it, as well as figuring out how you're actually moving about the stage itself. The combat walker is a little easier, but it's slow, so you have to get used to boosting everywhere to efficiently both dodge the enemies and get to your objectives quickly. So if you can deal with the difficulty though, I definitely recommend giving SoulStar a try. It's not that easy to find a copy or a way to play it anymore, as it hasn't been released on any services digitally like so many other awesome shoot-'em-ups have. Just available on the original Sega CD. Alright, well that'll wrap it up for my episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday today. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.